Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kalani. This is World Drum Club, and this is your first djembe lesson or review in this series, Djembe for Beginners. I'm Kalani, your teacher, and this is the first lesson in the series. So if you're a beginning djembe student, you've got a drum, or you're thinking about getting a drum, or you've been playing for a while, but you want to make sure you're doing everything right and not developing bad habits, this series is for you. You're in the right spot, so welcome. So let's get right to it. I've got different camera angles I'm going to be working with in this video. So I'm going to show you all the techniques, how to hold the drum, tune it, play it, different patterns, what to practice, how to practice, all kinds of great stuff in this series. So this is the first video. Let's learn how to properly hold or place ourselves in a playing position on the djembe. And I'll be using as much descriptive language as I can for those of you who are blind or just vision impaired. All right. I'll do my best. Here we go. So when you play the djembe, you've got two choices. Traditionally, it's played standing. We're going to get to that later. Right now, we're going to address probably the most common playing position these days, which is seated position. So before you do anything, consider getting an adjustable drum throne. So I've got one over here that I'm sitting on. I'm going to show you just a peek. It's down here. Let me see. Drum throne. It's a seat that is adjustable. And that's important because you are different from everyone else. Everybody's different height, and you're going to be playing different drums. So the chances that you're just going to grab a chair and that is going to be the right height for you are, I would say, slim. I mean, it's possible. Of course, you can put some padding in there, use some pillows, blah, blah, blah. It's not ideal. And there's some other reasons for that I'm going to get to later on as well. But get a drum throne if you can. Now, when we play the djembe, number one thing, and a lot of people do this backwards, but I want you to see the angle, and I'm going to just describe this. So if I put the drum flat on the floor in front of me, of course, that is not ideal playing position or playing sound, and we'll see why in a second. What you need to do is approximate the standing position, which would be with the drum hanging. So if the drum is hanging, if I lift this up and just let the weight carry the drum naturally, you can see that there's a pretty big angle, like 30 degrees heading down, downhill away from you. So we're going to approximate that and place the drum on the floor between our legs. Now the bottom of the drum is tipped, right? So that allows the bass tone to come out. That is super important. So I'm going to show you the top view now, and you can see that my hands and arms are really pretty much in a straight line, right? From my elbow all the way to my fingertips, it's just straight. So see if you can get that position first before you do anything. That is what we call the ergonomic, comfortable playing position. Now from there, you could put your legs around the drum, kind of hug the drum with your thighs, give it a little squeeze. You might want to cross your feet or ankles in front of the foot of the drum, or find a comfortable way to hold the drum in this position. And like I said, later on, I'm going to show you a little cheat because I know that for some of you, the drum might feel heavy, like it's tipping forward, and I have a solution for that. All right, but we'll get to that later. Let's move on and learn how to play your first and basic tone, which we're going to call the bass tone. Everybody calls it bass in English anyway. And we're going to do that right now. Let's place our palm and our hand just flat. Now, even though I use language like palm and fingers, palm, fingers, fingertips, all of these tones you want to do in a very relaxed way. There's no reason to tense your hand up when you play djembe. Everything is very relaxed. It should feel comfortable. And what we're doing, and this is my terminology, I like to say you're just going to put the weight of your hand in these, let's call it 3 zones. So palm, or you could think entire hand, but the weight is kind of in your palm. And then fingers together like one unit, and then fingertips. And those would be the 3 zones that we're going to identify. And like I said, you don't have to exclusively hit the drum. We're not exclusively hitting the drum with those parts of our hand. We're just kind of focusing the weight or energy of our hand to those areas. All right, so that's really important. Now, some of you are noticing that I am wearing a ring. Let me see. That's because I'm married. Let's see if I can remove it, because best practices is remove rings, watches, jewelry, all that stuff. And so you don't have anything sharp, anything hard that could either hurt the drum or you. You don't want to bruise your fingers. This ring is very small, and it's not really a problem for me, but I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I know some of you will leave comments like, hey, you're playing with your ring on. I did a video on how you can use a ring, and I have a rubber ring that somebody sent me and I used. Those are cool too. So if you want to have a ring and leave it on, you can get rubber or like neoprene type rings. There's all kinds of, I don't know if it's neoprene, some sort of rubbery material. Anyway, now look, we're ring free, hands are clean, so we're ready to play. All right, let's go back to the overhead view, and let's just put our entire hand on the head. And it doesn't matter which one. I'm using my right hand right now. Just put it on the head, and you just want to make sure that your entire hand is inside the edge of the head. So you don't have to put it in the middle. And I'm going to correct a myth in a second. But for right now, you could find where your wrist and edge of the drum kind of line up, and then just scoot in a little from there. And let's go ahead and strike the drum. I'm going to go to the side view for this. So here we are, and we're going to lift from the elbow, and we're going to bounce. Now notice that I'm not flexing my fingers. Sometimes people do this where they try to hold their fingers up and only use their palm, and that's a lot of tension here. Don't do that. Just relax, relax, and let's strike the drum again. Bounce off like a child jumping up and down on a bed. This is the bass tone. Go to your other hand. Bass. Go alternating. Remember to bounce. Try to go back up to starting position. All right, what is starting position? I sometimes tell people, pretend you're being held up. Put your hands up. All right, this is exaggerated, but when you're just doing exercises in the beginning, I think it's a good practice to come all the way back up. We're going to exaggerate for now because we want to develop good habits. Now, so that's a good habit. What is the bad habit? What do people do that I think they would run into trouble later? Is what they do is they get what I call sticky hands, and they strike the drum and they stay down there. Now you can play a bass tone and leave your hand on the head, right? It's going to work. And maybe as you progress and as you become a better player and you get more skills, and you might want to do that. You might want to play that tone, and that's okay. I'm not saying that striking the drum and leaving your hand on the drum playing a bass tone is wrong. I would say that it is not traditional and not normal, not customary. All right, I'm not saying you can do anything you want with any instrument, but we're starting off. We just want to learn the tradition right now, or what is customary and usual. So if you go see a professional djembe player in one of the ballets, or you take a lesson, you take a class from a touring teacher, which I highly recommend, they're going to be bouncing off, unless they're doing something unusual. So when you practice, and this is your homework for now, you're going to start up here. We're going to call this starting position, one at a time. Bounce, bounce, all the way back up. We're not going to play like this later. We're just going to do this for now. And I want you to keep an eye on, or just pay attention to, am I really moving from the elbow primarily? Or, which is what we want, or am I just doing like this wrist movement? This is another thing that I see sometimes people do. They get all wristy, and we call that fish hands, like a fish flopping around on the bottom of a boat or something. So you don't want to have a sticky hand, and you don't want to have fish hands. just flapping on the drum. All right, so it's really movement from the elbow. Does that mean our wrists don't move at all? No, nobody said that. You might have a little bit of wrist movement as well, but it's primarily just the whole forearm and hand together. All right, let's go back and play a few tones. Bass tone. And we're going to come back up. All right, so that's your homework. I want you to practice that. Now, before we end the lesson, I want to give you one more tip that is going to be something you can use forever, whether you continue this course or not. And that is, well, actually, I'm going to tell you right after I show you this, which is how to connect with me and do the rest of this course on Patreon. If you're watching this for free on YouTube, some of you are watching now on patreon.com/Kalani. If you'd like to continue this lesson, if you like the way I teach and you want to learn more and you're serious about it, go to patreon.com/Kalani and join and take the rest of these lessons and so many other courses over there as well. Go look at that when you're done watching this video. And before we finish, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss any updates. All right. So here's a concept that is, I'm going to call it universal. It's a general concept. Is it absolute in every case? No. But what is? It's a general rule, and that is that when you play djembe rhythms, and I'm bringing this up because we get a lot of questions about hand patterns and which hand goes on what beat. In general, and believe me, there are exceptions to this, but in general, you're going to play the downbeats and the primary beats with your dominant hand, whichever that is, right, left-handed, doesn't matter. You're going to play those tones with your dominant hand. So what does that sound like? Well, if we have, I'm going to use the shake hat here for my click. If this is the beat, I'm going to play most of these notes with my right hand because I'm playing right-handed. And then I would play, off beats with my left hand. So I'm playing right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left. Now that is a general rule, but if you hear a rhythm and you want to apply it to your drum and you're not sure which hand to use, start with that formula of placing most of the major beats in your dominant hand and then fill in what we call the syncopated beats, meaning off the main beat notes, with your other hand. And if you need to play two in your left or two in your right to come back on your dominant hand on the downbeat of the bar or measure, in other words, the first beat of the cycle, if it's on the downbeat, which it usually is, you want to have that on your dominant hand. So if the rhythm pattern, for example, has an odd number of beats, you might find that in patterning out the rhythm, that you would start the next cycle on your other hand. But we don't want to do that. You start the cycle on the same hand, your dominant hand. So figure it out. If you need to add, another left or another right so that happens, do it. Now the other main thing that you can do, and we'll get to this down the road when we get into learning traditional rhythm patterns, is you're just going to learn traditional rhythm patterns and you're going to see what people have done, what people have developed over many years. I know hundreds of years, presumably, but at least decades, and how people have notated those and what is common. And I'm going to be showing you common djembe patterns. I'll be showing you some exercises that you can do to develop facility, play relaxed, play with speed, have good tones. We'll be looking at some of the other drums, like the dundun drums. We'll look at bells and the shakers, and we'll look at the entire ensembles. In fact, already, if you're ready to get into ensemble playing, there are several full ensemble arrangements right now available at the Patreon site for patrons. So you can get access to all that right now. That's always going to be there. So whether you continue with this course or another course, I want to thank you for sticking with this video. Remember, you're going to practice relaxed bass tones, practice with a metronome or a click, main beats on your dominant hand, and enjoy, you guys. Just, stay relaxed, have fun, go easy on yourself at first, all right? And come back and see me here at World Drum Club when you're ready for more. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.